I'm orisaey, and this is REPO.
What you got? Ah! Fuck what? Let's try it now!
And terrible, no way!
Oh my god! Someone help me!
The most recent entry in Semibots' catalogue, where Newton's laws of physics meets proximity chat, quote-unquote terrifying monsters, and just about every corner of Twitch.television. Creating the perfect $10 taxpayer's nightmare, where you can make your own train wrecks and then immediately crash them into the nearest Shadow Wizard money gang. All in the hopes of collecting valuables and turning them into sweet bands for the almighty taxman. Remind you of something? Abstraction horror games, baby. As the whole get in, get goodies, get jump scared, and get the fuck out is probably the most prolific game genres in recent history. Think Deep Rock Galactic, Dark and Darker, and this game's closest cousin, Lethal Company. All of which are masterpieces in their own right unless you're on the Google Play Store. But instead of risking the world's few actual remaining minds for this omnipotent, money-hungry AI's fetch quests, the taxman has decided to instead truck across Europe his remote-controlled inventions called Semibots. The first of this game's 5 pillars that make up the gameplay loop of 2025's best indie horror game. Speaking of Semibots, they're 2 big-ass eyeballs, 3 segmented pill body, grab and rotate arms, 100 health, 40 stamina, and 36 color options, form the very goobers you play as when completing the very retrieve extract profit operations that make up REPO's acronym. And it doesn't stop there though, because they also look at whoever spoke last, talk like Canadians, can go into ball mode by pressing Q, can't escape being picked up, have built-in text-to-speech straight out of Moonbase Alpha, and die by fucking exploding their heads across entire rooms. Creating peak comedy no matter how dire the situation is, or how much quote-unquote teamwork you actually employ.
I don't know if I... Yo, what's up? You know what? My name's Courage, and welcome to Jackass.
And even if you die at the hands of monsters or your so-called teammates, your disembodied domes can simply be thrown into the cart and in turn the extraction point, allowing you to pop back into existence when the quota is reached. Okay, you might only have 1 health, but you're alive nonetheless, so get back to work, blood. We have places to pillage, my guy, specifically the game's 3 procedurally generated spooky locales. Headman Manor, the home of a big-ass floating Joe Biden Wojak, Swift Broom Academy, the home of the actual Shadow Wizard money gang, McJack Station, the workplace of researchers trying to extract Asian fossils before accidentally wiping out all of humanity, and Avant-Garde, the taxman's self-made museum where he stores all of his most precious possessions that he now wants to resell. All 4 of which hold the very things that make the man money when sold at extraction points. Valuables. The game's second pillar that totally isn't the most complicated part of the entire game. In REPO, valuables scale in both size and value from tiny and cheap to very tall and expensive, giving you more bang for your arbitrarily priced buck depending on how much additional ass you want to haul throughout a level. For the taxman's tax brackets, the list goes as follows. Very cheap goes to 300, cheap leads to 2k, medium leads to 4500, high reaches 12 grand, and expensive goes to a whopping $45,000 if you don't immediately fumble the bag by bumping into every doorway imaginable. Tiny are things like an emerald ring, fragile diamond, and enough uranium glassware to make a Geiger counter salesman shit themselves. Graduating to small with straight racks, the weight of your sins, and a music box that makes you spit on that shit. Champagne that flies from the window to the wall when damaged brings us into medium, where an explosive propane tank, surplus of the same size, pipe bomb clown, and slow-mo hourglass takes us into big, with a large vase, ice saw, flammenwerfer, and haunted scream doll, leading us into the game's special sizes. First up is wide, where the perambulating golden griffin statue, Headman's own ancient dinosaur fossil, and an animal crate that went up the wrong way or damaged too much makes loads of noise and cranks up the enemy respawn rate 250 times. Within tall and very tall, shit gets crazy fast. As a harp and giant server is normal, but where the fuck did this sword come from? What the fuck is a Speed Demon 700X, and who the fuck is Dumb Golf? Finally letting us jump into REPO's first sub 50 minute 1-player 10 level world record by Chlorophyte Knight. Kicking off his run in level 1 with a 10.5k quota, Chloro flies gung-ho into good old McJanick Station, throws globes in an oil barrel into the cart, uses said cart to boost back to the one and only extraction point, and leaving with no enemy encounters for a clean first level. All of which brings Chloro into his first of 10 service stations, where he focuses the tumble launch upgrade for 4k and leaves with 9,000 left over. Ending up in level 2, where the level of difficulty immediately slightly scales like it will across the rest of the run, with 2 extractions instead of 1. Our runner loads up a big vase, medium vase, and pipe clown for the first 8.9k extraction, making the other with the love potion, uranium glassware, diamond, and master potion, before dodging a trudge and making it back to the truck. For servo number 2, a strength, stamina, and health upgrade are immediately bought and pumped in no time. But despite this being Chloro's focus due to his terrible shot pulls, servos themselves have so much to offer when you actually get a good pull. Spread across 6 different categories, service station loot tables are just about as in-depth as REPO gets and go as follows. Upgrades. The single-use juice boxes that give one player 20 more health, 25% more strength, 30% more range, 20% more sprint speed, 10 more stamina, a player counter, an additional jump, and more tumble launch strength. Health packs are shoplifters' favourite item, as their 3 to 16k price points are no match for mashing E as the game transitions. Weapons are the melee range or explosive weapons that let you kill both enemy monsters and the friends you catch in the crossfire. With a baseball bat, frying pan, sword and inflatable hammer, pistol, shotgun and trank, normie, shock, stun, nam, duct taped and duck grenades, a shockwave, stun and explosive mine, and the duck bucket, pulse pistol, bolt zap, prod zap, tank cannon and tank laser from the new updates, making up the entire list. Utility. Things like a metal detector for both loot and extraction points, zero-gravity orbs that send valuables airborne, and energy crystals that refill the multiple-use weapons we just went over. Drones. The backbone of the run itself that gives 6-player runs a slight advantage, and single-player runs their entire livelihoods. With recharge recharging things, roll making things roll, zero-gravity making things floatier, feather drones making things lighter, and indestructible making items specifically indestructible. The last 2 being crucial for Chloro moving larger valuables, all on his own without ruining their crazy price tags and the entire run. And lastly, we have carts. The carry-around repo tech that you transport items with, having additional pocket and standard carts being available for upwards of 14 and 40k respectively. And that's about everything you can buy in repo so far. An 8-mile long list, which is why service station pulls are such run killers if you don't get the right upgrades and drones early enough. In level 3 Headman Manor, Chlorophyte picks up a compass and 2 vases, begrudgingly drags a grandfather clock back to the first extraction, and finishes it off with said vase pair. Replacing the first of the 2, he goes on to collect a diamond, pair of televisions, ring, plate, pirate ship, and globe. Using said globe to beat a spewer to death, blowing up its morb with some bangers, and ending Extract 2 with a scream doll. But as you might know, the Vomit Comet and gang of explosive goobers aren't all this game has to offer when it comes to monsters. Roll the encyclopedia. In this game, monsters are split up between 3 tiers, with Tier 1 including minor inconveniences that when unprovoked can be ignored or repurposed as weapons, Tier 2 consisting of moderately sized damage-dealing nuisances that can send you flying with little to no remaining health, all of which sets you up for the deadly encounters with Tier 3. Large, lethal threats that don't take long to kill both your teammates and your entire runs, no matter how casual or experienced the crowd may be. But no matter the tier of enemy, depending on how many strength upgrades you have, they're pretty much defenseless. Something Semiwork hopes to rectify in future updates. Tier 1. The Peeper. A giant eyeball that does 2 damage per second until you break the creature's force line of sight. The Spewer. The first of this game's many mutated creatures that will either vomit acid or latch onto your face, making you vomit instead and in turn speak deeper. The Shadow Child. The Enderman of Repo that, unless you look away, will lunge forward, steal 30 damage and throw you across the room. Gnomes. 4 mine dwellers that, rather than digging for gold, have decided to mine both the players themselves and the valuables in their possession. The apex predator. A goober on the outside that, when picked up or hurt any way, shape or form, immediately becomes the demon on the inside that deals 300 damage in 10 seconds. Tier 2. Bangers. 3 dynamite-filled skulls that, after 10 seconds of cooldown, will proceed to fucking explode and insta-kill you if you're standing too close. The animal. A living Beyblade. That used to be a person, Jesus fucking Christ. The bow tie. A big marshmallow with a bow tie that blows gale force winds at any player it sees, doing 5 damage per tick as it shoves you into walls, players, and other monsters with no method of escaping. The hidden. An invisible man whose life purpose is to drag you to the opposite side of the map, straight into the closest bottomless pit or monster's AoE. The upscream. Human man number 2 straight out of Gmod, whose scream, throw and 10 damage when chained with itself or death planes is one of this tier's most deadly combinations. The chef. A frog in a chef outfit double-wielding meat cleavers, who after spotting you will start swinging their knives wildly and launch themselves straight into you. The mentalist. Mega Man incarnate that uses his telekinetic ability to lift players up in 0 gravity and slam them back down for 50 damage. The fucking Rugrat. Oh my god, it's this fucking shithead. You had items? Well, wait for this bastard to enter line of sight, because no you fucking don't. Because he will immediately pick it up and throw it at you, dealing anywhere from 8 to 255 damage. And if you're in the 90% of runs that don't even reach level 10, that's a guaranteed insta-kill. And tier 3. The Reaper. A scarecrow-ass motherfucker who will not hesitate to shred you to death with its blade arms at 40 damage per second. The Trudge. The 500 health big red guy that slowly follows a uniform path throughout the map dragging its mace, sucking you in for 2 sets of 50 damage, chomping down for 50 a pop, and slamming straight down for a guaranteed instant kill. The Huntsman. A blind man with a rifle walking stick, whose ears are the sharpest in Repo to the point where whispering, using chat standing too close, or having a duck quack will have 100 damage bullets bouncing straight through you. The Clown. The biggest creature in the game whose distant stomps give subtle foreshadowing to his 70 damage death laser and 50 damage clown shoe kicks that make up the game's 3rd most dangerous monster. The Headman. A giant floating head akin to that of the 46th American President Joe Biden that will start screaming and rapidly chasing players in order to bite down on you for 50 damage a chomp no matter where you try and hide. And the Robe. This game's final monster that, despite her spirited away inspiration, is the most dangerous enemy in the entire game. All because she makes little to no noise, speeds up if you make direct eye contact, and chases you until she catches up. Rounding out all 19 of this game's monsters you can find randomly distributed throughout your repo runs. But when you can simply stun and defeat enemies with the right size of valuables, certain items and good old bottomless pits, where does the challenge go? Respawn timers, of course, because every 10 minutes, monsters' respawn rate goes down by 1 minute starting with 5, with anything over 50 minutes and the final extraction winding up with monsters respawning within 1 second. And if enemies don't spot you within 40 seconds or you're too far away, they'll despawn and come right back somewhere else after the respawn cooldown. But that's bad enough until you realize level 3s can be replaced with anywhere from 3 to 10 of the game's 13 other enemies. Targeting a tumble and 2 strengths for 26k in his 3rd surface station, Chloro runs back into Swiftbroom's 16k extracts, with a big vase, goblin head and speed demon for extraction 1 of 3, and a tight mentalist encounter, love potion, green glass and cube for number 2. Meeting a Reaper around the corner, he steals more uranium and ceramics and reaches the 3rd extraction, where an extra 57k takes him into another servo, finally landing a feather drone and clearing 1 tumble, 2 strengths and 3 ranges. But as he approaches Mechanic for a second time, this is the perfect time to mention that this game's lore has been well chronicled over on Repo's Steam community by Wormweed and many others. Being a quick Repo lore overview by Wormweed, Repo lore guessing by Glitch and Arica19, and Repo the full guide by Hazy. All of which goes into the setting, monsters, Semibots, the Headmaster, the Taxman, and the mysterious disease Mechanic Station uncovered that ties them all together. They definitely aren't required reading, but if you're interested enough in this game itself, I would strongly suggest checking them out since they do a better job than I could even try. Okay, and that's all the yapping I have in me, so how about I clean up the final stretch of Glorified Knight's world record with an unsolicited yet absolutely peak montage. Hit the Castlevania music me weeks from now. And honestly, I don't think there is much more I can do to prove the point of this video. You might think I'm smoking crack when I say REPO is 2025's best indie horror game since it's only June, but the first-hand experience of both casual clips and competitive runs is yet to be beaten this year. And it won't keep you much longer, so see you next month.